It's time to stop being a people pleaser in business. There are so many different clients that I have at the moment that are struggling to overcome being a people pleaser that I thought this topic was so relevant to really share. So first of all, I've got some questions here that I want to run through to maybe identify how much of a people pleaser you currently are running your business or currently being an entrepreneur. So the first thing, do you say yes to everything? Right? And take everything with a pinch of salt. Do you say yes to most things? Right? Because if you do, my guess is you're probably saying yes to so many things, but remember this, if you're saying yes to loads of things, you're saying no to yourself. Oh, that's such a good point. I remember interviewing a guy on my podcast, and that's what he said. He said, I used to be a people pleaser, but then I discovered every time I say yes to someone, I'm saying no to my own projects. I'm saying no to this. That's very, very key. Okay? Next, do you overgive to other people in order to avoid your own challenges? This is an interesting one. Do you keep yourself busy dealing with other things so you don't have to deal with your own challenges? Because if you are, my guess is you're a people pleaser and you use it so that you don't have to deal with your own stuff. Sorry, I was meant to say shit and stuff at the same time. I should shove. Cool. So the point of this, right, and this is, I'm keeping this in because I think it's not about being perfect, it's about being real. So this is about overgiving, right? If you're constantly overgiving there, then you're going to be people pleasing in that aspect. And what's happening is you're spreading yourself too thin because you don't want to deal with your own stuff. So this is where maybe you need to take a break, step back, and look at what you need to do so that you can be a better leader as a result. Next one. Do you have a lot of other people's drama, other clients' drama, other employees' drama in your life? If you do, and there's a lot of drama of other people's, my guess is because you know about that and you're kind of dealing with it, there's an element of people pleasing there too. All right. Are your own needs a priority compared to other people? And let me put this in perspective. If someone were to look at your life right now, would they see you taking priority of yourself or taking priority of other people? Because if you aren't looking after yourself first, it's going to be very challenging. Right? Let me give you an example here. All right? Think about if you've seen this example before. All right? It's half full. All right? Doesn't matter, it's half full. If I held this out for as long as I possibly could, all right? How long do you think I could hold it for? So if I held it here like this, and if you had a water bottle with you, held it there, I'd be like, okay, it's quite heavy. But if I kept on holding it, and I kept on holding it, I kept on holding it, suddenly it'll get really, 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 really heavy. If you're just carrying loads of people's other shit, you don't put it down, and you don't deal with some of your stuff too, suddenly things are going to be incredibly overwhelming for you. So you need to stop pleasing other people and start looking after yourself too. Next, do you keep forgiving employees for making the same mistakes and multiple mistakes? This is so important. This pattern is detrimental in business. I literally was speaking to a guy the other day. He's been running his business for, I think, 2 decades now. He told me one of the biggest mistakes he did was keeping a guy on for 2 years, even though after the first 2 months, people were saying he's not the right fit. And this is so important for you to take into account. If there's someone that you've kept for a really, really long time and you're thinking, man, this guy should probably go, they need to go, right? Hire slow, fire fast. And this is where it's not about just keeping people in. And I was having another conversation with a client who basically looked at their employees as their family. They don't want to let them go. And there's an important element of that, but if they're not the right fit and they're not improving, they have to go because you're running a business. And this is where you've got to change that mindset and shift what you do to really help you move forward. So next, we've got, do you sometimes feel manipulated into doing other things for other people? Maybe it's other business owners, maybe it's part of your team, and they say something and suddenly you feel yourself being dragged in one way. If you can't say no and you're struggling to be able to move forward, that is a big challenge. Last one, do you give and give and give and do you feel yourself burning out? Because my guess, if you're someone that feels like that, you probably go through these giving, and then you burn out and you do nothing, kind of recover, and then you do it again. And I can tell you that I've worked with someone who had $1 billion company, and the reason why it went downhill, he lost everything, was because of people pleasing. It was because he was pleasing other people and he didn't focus on the numbers and he didn't take a step back, and it went completely downhill. So this is such an important pattern for us to be able to overcome in business because it's unsustainable and it really stops us moving forward. And there's actually a case study that I want to give you that's kind of a little bit different, but I really hope this puts it into perspective. And this is of a guy who's quite entrepreneurial, did some amazing things in his life, but in 2014 completely disappeared. It was on August the 11th. And this is Robin Williams. He was a guy that I looked up to. I mean, wow, what an inspirational character, starring in some amazing films, and he pleased everyone else except for himself. And that's a real challenge there because it can literally take you to the point where you don't want to be there anymore because you're experiencing so much pain because you're pleasing other people and not looking after yourself. So when we look into our own businesses, this is where we have to take it onto ourselves to actually take responsibility and start to move ourselves forward in our business in a different way. Now, what do I mean in a different way? Well, this, an example is taking responsibility. When you set a task for someone, you set their KPIs, you set their PIPs, whatever you want to call it, whatever you do in your business, right? WAGs or, loads of different things, all right? You need to keep them accountable, right? There's no point saying, how's it going? Did you do this, yes or no? And suddenly you're going to be on point. Take responsibility for getting stuff done. Because remember this, if it is a should, people ain't going to do it. People only do what they must do. So think about in your business and in your life where there are elements that people should do and they're not following through. And maybe that needs to be changed into a must. For some of them, you can let them go, but for others, maybe you need to implement them and say, you know what, it's a must. I'm actually going to do this and start to move things forward sustainably. Because if you don't, what will happen is your business is just going to slowly start to move downhill. You may not even notice it, but 6 months go by and you think, wow, man, this is not the same business that I thought I had years and years ago, right? It's completely different. So ultimately, the biggest takeaways from this video is to overcome that people pleasing and to actually shift yourself forward in a new way. So one of the elements is taking responsibility. The next is being able to say no. Being able to say no to people and say, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say yes to myself, so I've got to say no to you. That is one of the best concepts you can implement. A great way to do that is at the end of every day, go, where did I say no to other people today so that I could say yes to myself? Those two in and of themselves are such fantastic techniques. And yeah, there's loads of different others that we have, but I want to leave it there for today to give you something to really reminisce on and actually use. Because remember, being aware of it's one thing, changing it is something different. So I hope you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and if you've got any questions about people pleasing, please let us know. It's one of the most detrimental of the 8 entrepreneurial lifestyle blocks. So you want to make sure that you overcome this as well as a couple of the others because they're definitely holding you back in your business and in your life. I'll see you in the next one and have a great day.